And we are live, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I guess it's not morning, it's 1 a.m. here for me, so but good afternoon to the rest of you. And if you see my head turning like this, I've got one tablet here with my agenda on it, and the other tablet here for communicating with you. Also, see my rubbernecking head. That's what I'm doing. So we can call the meeting to order. Do we have any declarations of conflict of interest? No. Seeing none, no. Can I have an approval of the agenda?
Yep.
Okay, moved by Councillor Duffy, seconded by His Worship. Any business arise? Oh, adoption of the minutes from March 1st, 2022.
Good. Yep.
Okay. And any business arising from those minutes?
No.
Okay. And all right, we can move right on. Oh, yes, go ahead. Did somebody have some business arising from the minutes?
No.
Oh, okay. My apologies. Okay, so we can move right on to report. Communications update.
Hi, folks. Not much to update on. It's all included in the package there. There was a report put together and it's in there. If there's any questions on the report, I'm happy to field them.
Does anyone have any questions for Isaac?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Your Worship.
Isaac, as you know, the additional position for communications was approved. So I'm sure that you're starting the search soon, like very soon, correct?
Yeah, we are hoping to. So we do have a copy of a draft job description. Hoping to kind of go through that as a team, myself, Carly, and Doug, just to make sure that we have everything in there that needs to be in there. And I will be reaching out to HR hopefully in the coming days to kind of get that process moving. So no ETA right now, but just like you, we hope to move as quickly as possible as well.
So Isaac,
Yep.
Is it to reinforce what Carly's doing, or the community engagement officer, or what's the purpose of this new position?
So the hope.
Go ahead.
No, so the hope is, I had kind of alluded to in the report this month as well as last month that, with a growing city come growing requirements. We have a couple dozen requests from 2 departments alone, all of which are looking at dates of completion in early June and by mid-June. So there's a lot of workload. So hopefully with this position, what we'll be able to do is better share the workload amongst the 3 of us. And Doug is a great kind of resource on certain topics as they relate to community engagement. But it will be a position similar to that. Hopefully similar to that of Carly's, the communications coordinator, with a little more of a focus on the digital component. We hope just to, in the interim, try to really beef up and make better use of our digital presence. So whether that be social media, website, components such as those. So, yep.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions? Any other questions for Isaac before we move on? Okay. Our next item on the agenda is an IT report. Over to you. I guess that's you, Rory.
Sure. So much like Isaac, I've included the report there for you to read over. I'm not sure if there's any questions, I can answer them.
Looks good.
Okay, no questions for Rory. I'm just out of curiosity, how come there's no report from you, Bethany? Did I miss something in all my email threads that
Hi, Chair Yankoff. Yes, no, you didn't miss anything. So typically we would have our OHS report at this time in the open session. But unfortunately, our OHS officer has been out for the last 2 weeks with COVID. He was quite unwell, so he was unable to complete the report. We will have a double report for you next committee meeting, but you'll see the bulk of HR in the closed session, with the piece on the Canada Games coming up soon in the open session.
Great. Okay, thank you. All right, so I guess we are moving on to number 7, Canada Games 2023 Volunteer Initiative. Who's taking this one on? Is that you, Bethany?
I can do that, yes. So, so you'll see that there is the briefing note from the Canada Games committee there in your package, along with a memo, a draft memo that we had in place in regards to volunteers that are required. So this memo has not been sent out to staff. It's purely a draft for consideration of the committee. Canada Games has approached the city and asked for us to make some provisions, put some provisions in place to encourage staff members to participate in volunteering. Of course, they need more than 5,000 staff or volunteers rather over a variety of areas. And they were hoping to find our support. So what Peter had suggested and what we had originally discussed, Tina and Peter and myself, in terms of allowing staff would be something like, if a staff member wanted to volunteer, they could give a day of their time and use a vacation day, and in turn the city would match that with a free day that they could volunteer, and they would be paid for that second day. While this is operational, it does, it is strategic in some fashions, and certainly relates to, community engagement and the Canada Games coming to our city and our province. So we wanted to engage the committee to find out what your thoughts might be on this. Some organizations are just allowing employees to take more time and be flexible in that regard, and then some employers are allowing their staff to take a day or two just to volunteer. What would be the committee's thoughts on our approach of give a day, get a day kind of thing?
I can just open that up to committee. What if anyone has any thoughts on that?
Well, it'd be kind of an in-kind service, right? They would still get payroll, still be paid from the city, but would go down and do something at a local rink or a local venue somewhere, and kind of an in-kind service, same as police officers, I guess, for the Island Marathon, and their in-kind services.
Is that correct, Bethany?
Well, I can't speak to the police and the Island Marathon. I'm unaware what their arrangement would be, Your Worship. But certainly, it would be considered an in-kind service if we were to provide paid time for, for our staff to go and volunteer in any capacity.
Yeah. So what are the other municipalities doing? Is this a call out that Carrick Squires is doing island-wide for? She's doing it with Summerside, Stratford, Cornwall. Is that what the?
Honestly, Your Worship, I'm not aware if she's reached out to the other municipalities, but I do know that the provincial government, she noted in our conversations that they were providing a couple of days to staff without staff committing any of their personal time to go. So, it sounds like some other organizations are going in that route. I know the federal government has a provision for volunteering in most of their collective agreements, so I think they've connected with the federal government in terms of using that volunteer service for the Canada Games for 2023. But yes, currently unaware of what's going on at the other municipalities in terms of this.
Yeah. So, Madam Chair, the opening of the volunteer centre on Sandalstone Drive. That's out in the Walmart area, Walmart shopping center. Last week was the official opening, and I think they're up to 40% of their volunteers in place, 2,000 of the 5,000. So the numbers are climbing, and where we can help out, we're already helping out, assisting financially with a $1.8 million investment to the Canada Games at $600,000 over per year over 3 years. So, yeah, if it's services in kind, we'll just, again, we can calculate that into our contribution as services in kind, but with some dollar value to it. Thank you.
Bethany, is there a limit? Can people volunteer for the entire time that Canada Games is on? Like, this is like you're permitted 2 days of volunteer time. Like, is there any more detail on that?
Well, and I think that would be what we were hoping to discuss today. If we wanted to put some parameters around it, I think that we would probably say, like a maximum of somewhere in the realm of whatever 3 to 5 days, maybe a maximum of 3 days that we would provide per person. I think it really depends on the individual whether they'd be interested in doing that 3 days of volunteer service, or if they, maybe because of the nature of their job and shift work or what have you, they might not be interested in volunteering, or they might be, required to be on the job because we have so many. I'm thinking of police, for example. It may be difficult to let some of our police staff volunteer, given that there'll be more people in the city and potentially a need for more policing on street. These are kind of the things that we were hoping to discuss today. What would committee think would be a reasonable amount of time to allow each staff member to take?
Madam Chair, could I just ask a question?
Yes.
Bethany, I know you weren't here in 2009, and I know you weren't here in 1991 when we had the first Canada Winter Games. So in 2009, what contribution did the city make other than the financial contribution as it related to volunteers and providing services in lieu?
Your Worship, I wouldn't be able to answer that question. I actually did a little search in our HR area of the computer system to see if I could find anything on similar commitments that we've made to other organizations for volunteering with staff, and I wasn't able to pull up any records relating to that. So. Yeah. If we did do a similar thing in 2009, unfortunately, I haven't been able to find those records as of yet. We certainly could reach out to former administrators, though, to see if they have any recollection of what we did.
Yeah, and I can tell you the data system with Canada Games, both winter and summer, I'm sure that they'd have a database on the volunteers that were part of the games in 2009. I know it's 13 years ago, but they have databases that I'm sure that we can look at. But again, it comes down to, Madam Chair, what's our contribution? And I think we have a great volunteer base here in the city of Charlottetown, and I'm sure that employees will step up. If again, it's in kind services, and if we have to provide some paid days, I think it's worth the cost, and it will definitely make allow the games to move smoothly throughout the 2 weeks. Thank you.
So, Bethany, what are you asking from committee today? Just a recommendation from us to create a policy around this, or what's our next step?
Well, I think we were really looking to find out what were your thoughts when it came to, allowing staff to go either purely on city time or, kind of in a matching framework. So they would have to give a day of their personal time to get a day of volunteering, and what your thoughts around that were. And then from there, we can certainly either bring something back to committee or just move with it on with staff. I know Canada Games, their original request came to the mayor's office some time ago, so we would like to be able to give them a response in the very near future. But really just looking to get an idea of what council and committee are thinking of would be a reasonable contribution.
Your Worship, would this not be something that we would need some sort of a some sort of a policy or something in writing so we can take it back to council for council to review as well?
Yeah, that's my, Madam Chair, that there must be something that we can use from the 2009 games. I know it was the summer games, and we're not going to go back to the 1991 Canada Winter Games to do a comparison. But yeah, we should look at what took place in 2009, and as Bethany said, maybe the services in kind be you give one day, and then you get one day with paid leave, or match it day for day from the standpoint of an employee's contribution to their volunteer, his or her volunteer contribution to the games, Canada Games. Yeah, but again,
Yeah.
Madam Chair, there must be data that we can use from that 2009 games that we can help us guide us for this 2023 Canada Games. Thank you.
Okay,
Right.
that sounds
And
good.
should there not be then, and I would think we need something in writing, do we not? We can't just,
That's correct, Madam Chair.
for something in writing to go back to council for council to review and accept, or
To buy in, for sure. Yes,
Or not.
I fully agree.
Not?
Yeah.
That would be the intent, Madam Chair.
We have, I think we're down to about 311 days before the opening ceremony, so we still have some time.
So if there is concurrence along the committee lines, Madam Chair, we'll go back and we all prepare that policy statement that staff are able, based upon the discussion we had this morning.
okay, if committee is in agreement to that, and then once we review that, then we can move that along to council. Is that correct?
That's correct, Madam Chair.
Yep,
Thank you.
Okay, great.
thank you.
Thank you, Bethany.
Thank you.
All right, so we have introduction and new business, and that was my item. I brought this up before, and I just wanted to see whether or not what we could do around including our land acknowledgement as part of our monthly meetings of council. Just wondering what committee's thoughts are on that. I've done some research in terms of best practice, and I know other municipalities are very much acknowledging. And my personal opinion, I think it's very important. However, I'll leave that for committee to discuss and to see what their thoughts are on that.
Yeah. I think we can bring it back to council and have a good discussion on it and see where it goes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And again, it's all part of the reconciliation process, and this is a small step, but a big step in many different ways.
Do you have a specific phraseology, Madam
Deputy
Chair?
Mayor, any comments?
And sorry, Madam Chair, do you have a specific
well,
phraseology?
There's many I certainly could share. I know there's one at the bottom of my email thread that I use for my city work. I mean, there's one that very standard I use at the Guild, but I think that if council is in agreement to it, then we could look at what would be the most suitable phrase and respectful phrases that the city could use. I think we'd have to get council first to even see if this is something that they would commit to.
Yeah, and Madam Chair, I've made that statement before, so I can share what I've stated at previous meetings, or when we had someone in that where we addressed, we started off the meeting making reference to the land acknowledgement. So I can share that at our meeting when we discuss it with council. That's as you said, there are many different pieces to it, or there are many different phrases. No, I shouldn't say phrases, but ways of acknowledging the land issue. And I think that we can use what we've been using in council over the last couple of years, several years. Intermittently, but not all the time. But I think what you're saying is before every regular public meeting, regular monthly meeting, correct?
Yep, and including our meetings when we have any public meeting.
Oh, so
And
you're
that would
going,
be
you're saying
our-
all public meetings, and that's
All-
special meetings too?
Yep, and that would also include our meetings that we have outside of the council chambers in terms of planning and heritage public meetings. For example, when we had our SDR meeting, yep, any meeting that is addressing and working with the public that we acknowledge the unceded territory. Yeah.
Okay, so you have regular monthly
That's
meetings.
that was just.
No, we have two of them.
Yep.
And then we have all the special meetings of council that are either open or closed, and then the public meetings of council as they relate to planning, development, and heritage.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm suggesting that we move it back to council, get their feedback.
Okay. Is there any other comments or that anyone else would want to share before we would just move? I don't think we need a resolution to move back to council, do we? Or is this just for discussion, or is this a recommendation?
I'm
It would
moving it
definitely
to,
be a recommendation.
yeah, I'm moving it
Yeah.
to council for discussion
Okay.
and debate.
Okay. So do we need a seconder then?
And yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. So if His Worship is moving this on to council as a recommendation for discussion, do I have a seconder?
I can second that. I'll second it.
Great. Okay. And all those in favor? Is Deputy Cody still on the line?
I don't,
It doesn't appear that he is.
he was on, but he's not here right now, Madam
Oh.
Chair.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, did we have enough for a vote then?
And yes, you did,
Oh,
Madam
yeah.
Chair, yes. It would be 2-0, Madam Chair.
We have quorum.
Okay. Okay. Great. All right. So, if there is, we now need a resolution to move into closed session as per section 1191, subsection D, human resources matter. Moved by His Worship, seconded by Councillor Duffy.
Okay, just stand by, please.